The stream is live.
Oh, good, 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 good.
There we go.
There we go, because I am running this stream from my cell phone, which is terrible, terrible.
This reminds me of back when I was in high school, one of the yearbooks I think it had. One of the teachers got mad because the caption under her picture, I can't even remember what she was doing, was, Mrs. So-and-so fumbles with technology. So that's what came into my head. Paolo fumbles with technology.
Yeah, you're gonna see this fall a lot today. Well, no comments yet. Anyway, I may not be able to see comments today. Oh, but then again, nobody's watching. Not yet.
I have to look up the artist who died this week.
Oh, an artist died? Damn.
Yeah, the artist who did Thunder Bunny.
Thunder Bunny, yes, I remember that.
Thunder Bunny artist. I saw it on my Facebook. A few people I know knew him. Of course, I can't. Let me check Facebook. I think it was Darren who posted something about him. That might be the easiest way to find his name. Artist and former bullpenner and Marvel art director Darren Auk, A-U-C-K. Where it's Brian Buniac, B-U-N-I-A-C.
Okay, so Missing Mars is here. I can select comments, but I have to press 2 buttons.
TGI Friday peeps, says Missing Mars.
Yes, thanks for stopping by. It's going to be a weird experience today because I'm on my cell phone.
That won't be that weird for the rest of us, just for Paolo. But I'm still all wound up from working on my washing machine and it not working yet. So it's like,
how much laundry do you accumulate before you put it in the washer?
Only about a week. I mean, the washing machine is right back there, so it's not like it's a long ways away, so it's easy to. But yeah, usually I probably have 2 weeks worth of clothes I wash every week and then rotate my shirts and stuff.
We read American Flag, of course. We have read American Flag.
I have, you know what? I recently, just last semester, tried to reread American Flag. I didn't get very far. I mean, I loved it when it was coming out. Then I got rid of my issues probably 20 years ago, gave them to my friend Rob when I was just like, I don't want to reread American Flag. Then it was just this past semester. I was like, you know what? I'm trying to read. So I got digital versions of it. And just, I love Chaikin stuff. I buy all the stuff now, but American Flag just doesn't do it for me anymore. I can't explain why, because I got no reason. Chaikin goodness, yeah. Like I loved it when it was first coming out. I was in high school, it was right up my alley, an indie book done by Chaikin.
I don't even think
it was kind of groundbreaking for the time.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I don't think it's nowhere near Chaikin's best work.
No. I think what bothered me about it, too, was that it petered out. It seemed like it was going somewhere story-wise, and it just never did. And then somebody else started drawing it, and Chaikin was just writing it. Then I think he eventually even stopped writing. So it was just kind of like,
Well, I think that all of it's a problem that happened in a lot of those indie comics from the 80s.
Yeah.
They start doing the comic, and it's an ongoing, but they don't have an ending in mind because back then you didn't think of when the comic was going to end.
Right.
So just keep doing. Then they get fed up. Then they hire an artist. Then they go bi-monthly. Then the bi-monthly turns into an issue every 4 months.
Yeah. And it just kind of, fades out. Like,
right.
American Flag, in some way, when it first came out, I felt was important. Then it just stopped being somewhere along the lines.
Right, 50 issues, but only 27 matter.
Yeah, and only not even all 27 were drawn by Chaykin. I think he stopped drawing in the teens. Whoa.
Yeah, but it was the same thing with Dreadstar. Jim Starlin
Yeah.
ended his stories in issue number 40, and then Peter David takes over the writing with Angel Medina doing the art.
Once again, Dreadstar was another one. I loved when it started in Epic. I loved the Price graphic novel. And eventually, when the comic book came around, he was a superhero in space. I kind of wasn't, not that I just grew disinterested in it. Though I did just read, my friend gave me one of his, Jim Starlin's latest Kickstarters with Dreadstar. And that was actually pretty good. I enjoyed reading it all these years later. It's new. I don't know, it came out a few years ago probably, but I really liked that Dreadstar, whatever story it was, Kickstarter. I've showed it off here whatever week I got it, I remember. Yeah, maybe the first 25. We're talking a little American Flag by Chaykin.
West Nexus. Everybody loves Nexus. And people kind of like Paul Smith's art on it. But you notice that Steve Root's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And then you have stuff like Star Slayer, which Mike Grell created, and after issue number 8, he has no idea what he wants to do with. So Tim Trumer takes over.
Which we saw over the last couple months. I got some issues of and was going to reread it, but I haven't yet. I think the first 19 I have, maybe. Because the guy who actually took over, who wasn't Tim Truman, I forget his name. His stuff looked pretty good all these years later. He, was only around for those issues and then went off to be a commercial artist. And how are you tonight, Wilson?
I'm doing well, thank you. Just finishing up dinner and jumping on here to go through the comics that I got this week.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to pull them out of the bag, so this way here.
How many did you get?
I got quite a few, because these are a few weeks worth of books, and 2 books that I ordered. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 comic books in total that I picked up from the comic book shop. As I mentioned, there was at least 2 or 3 weeks worth of bundles. Pull list, and then 2 items I ordered from their warehouse. And I picked these up on a Wednesday. And what I've learned of getting my books that early is the shop is incredibly filled. There was also a book signing I wasn't aware of going on. So there was apparently a whole big line out front. I came in through the elevator, so I skipped all that. And because of the crowds, and I had my sister with me, I decided to just go up to the front and pick up my books, because I kind of gave a glance at the wall, and without knowing exactly what was in my pile, that's the downside of shopping at Midtown. Once the order is in, you don't really get to see what it is on the app or in the email.
Right.
And because of that, I don't really know what's there.
Yeah, my LCS sends an email that says, these books are waiting for you.
Which would be a great thing, but I have, it's like, your books are available, and that's it. That's it. So I have no idea what's there. And I've done it in the past where I'll pick up a book off the shelf going, do I have this on order, or do I have to pick them up? And one of them is the Godzilla Roar of the Worlds.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I have a good amount of Godzilla stuff on the pull list that I'm aware of. But since the War of the Worlds is part of the Godzilla Monster Piece Theater, they're all technically one-shots.
Right.
They're all technically a series. So it looks like while it's on my pull list, I do actually get the comic itself.
That's good. So, I just ordered the New York one of Godzilla Versus.
Right. So the Godzilla Versus, I know the San Diego one was in my pack. So I don't know when Versus New York comes out, or if it has already. But I do have Roar of the Worlds. So yeah, so even picking them up early, just haven't had the time to sit down and read any of them.
Terry said that the creators of the 90s were seeing 75 issues about. I don't think most of them had, and not even in the 90s. We're still talking 80s. That they had any specific plan of how many issues.
In the 80s they didn't. You're right. The 80s it was monthly comic. Let's keep going. That's all. But I think in the 90s I heard like 75 issues, 5 years, a few times. I don't know if that's a trend. But there was definitely more of an, especially with something like Vertigo. Mm-hmm. There was an idea that books would end.
Yeah, Nexus was good. The thing is, by the time it got to issue number 80, it was no longer the faithful to the premise, I guess, which is not necessarily bad, but you wouldn't recognize it if you went straight from the first year to the last. Cell phone me, fiction. No, Wilson's here. No, Chris is stuck in an alternate dimension.
By the way, I got six comics this week. 3 of them involved racing cars.
Really?
I was like, what kind of crazy trend is this?
I thought about putting a comic with a racing car on as the thumbnail for the video, but I went with some Howard Chaykin instead. Mm-hmm. Sandman Transman. Yeah, sure. All of those were conceived as as
Vertigo,
planned.
right?
That was an almost, yeah. Starman wasn't, but
yeah. I think that became the thinking in sometime in the 90s, probably around the time Sandman was ending, because I think Neil Gaiman announced Sandman was ending. I don't know when, but I remember him announcing that, and probably that had an influence too. When did Sandman end? What year was that? Do you remember?
1996. It was, because that thing missed a few months every once in a while. But Sandman was not supposed to last for 75 issues.
Yeah,
I think he wanted to. What I remember was that Gaiman wanted to end it much sooner, but that thing was a sort of direct market cash cow, and the editors demanded it keep going. Mm-hmm. Also, it was the first time that they had an ongoing series of trade paperbacks. So they may have noticed that the books were selling well on bookstores, and they wanted to have as many out there as possible.
Mm-hmm. Besides the comics, I got 3 big hardcover books this week. One of them's even a comic.
Spending a lot of money this week.
One was a gift, one was cheap, and one was expensive. So I spent a middling amount of money. For a guy who lost one of his classes to teach, maybe, I shouldn't be spending so much money on books, but I haven't run out yet. But I'll show you the first.
I'm trying to see if I can find the layouts. Nope.
Yeah, there's no one. Now you're staring at a screen of nothing. People like that, will I show you this book? Because it's horizontal. This is Sean Murphy, The Last Driver. Black and white on the back. So it opens this way.
Oh.
And I generally like Sean Murphy. And of course it opens this way so they can do driving stuff. But and the last thing that I'm not a big fan of this horizontal format in comics, like in a comic book size. Like the last one that came out like this that I was interested in was J.H. Williams. Where is that up there? Echo. Echo. Is there a second word after that? Echolands. There we go. There's a I'm looking at the spine on the shelf and I can't read the whole word. I can read Echo, but not Echolands because it's like blending in. And it was made like this too. And I said to myself, you know what? What is this? I don't think this one's that. At $4 an issue, like Echolands may have even been $5. You know, for 6 issues, 6 issues worth, I can probably get the hardcover, which is what I ended up doing with Echolands. Because I much prefer, if it's going to open horizontally, to be a hardcover because it's tough to read a single comic book horizontally. And the art was cool, but the story I just found a little goofy. He's the last driver because, automatic AI driving is taken over. So now it's illegal for humans to drive. But he's the last driver out there driving his own car. And it's just like, whatever.
It's a body Mustang. Surely you could do better than that. I mean, that thing was not only looked like a performance car. It actually wasn't.
It's a Stingray. I say that because it's got a Stingray license plate.
That's a Stingray, but the other car was a Fox body Mustang.
Oh, this one on the front?
Yeah.
Okay. He's got 2 different cars then. Oh, I think maybe the Mustang is his car, and then I can't even remember the plot, and I read it on like Thursday here. Has something to do with him not being able to drive, and he has to drive. I was like, I don't think I'm getting any more of this, but it was nice. The art was nice. Wasn't terrible or anything. It just didn't interest me that much.
So what made you pick it up in the first place?
Sean Murphy.
Okay.
New Sean Murphy book. I figured I haven't read any of his. He's been doing DC stuff for a while.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I'll pick up a Sean Murphy, but I didn't even know it was horizontal when I got it. Mm-hmm. When I pre-ordered it. But I was like, all right, I'll give the new Sean Murphy book a try because I like his art. Yeah. I guess I don't like his writing that much. What Batman book was he doing?
White Knight.
White Knight. He had his own Batman universe, which a lot of people liked. I never read it, so I don't know.
Right, I don't think I ever picked it up either.
Those were published here in a different format, but I didn't pick them up.
And here's my collecting thought of the week, brought to you by somebody saying, if you get gold, what do you do with it? And of course, someone said, sell it. And then it struck me that the difference between an investment and a collectible is, absent rich people's shenanigans, investments are all bought by everybody at the same price. Meaning, if you have gold and you want to sell it, you go to a place that buys gold. They look up the price of the gold today. They weigh your gold and they give you that amount. There's no bargaining. There's no when you buy Hulk when you get a Hulk 181 and want to sell it, you got to bargain with anybody. There's no set price. When when you want 20 shares of Apple, or if you want to sell 20 shares of Apple, you go to the stock market, whatever you're using, say I want to sell my 20 shares of Apple, and whatever the price is of Apple right now, someone buys it.
Right.
That's how investments are bought and sold. But collectibles are not bought and sold that way at all. If you buy a collectible for investment, it all depends on what price you negotiate at the end, which is why a lot of people I've heard don't consider collectibles to be investments, because anything that involves you negotiating a price at the end isn't an investment. That just struck me. I was like, never thought of that before. But
I can agree with that. That there is no guarantee on anything,
right?
Especially on the collectibles. So up and down, and we've seen it go up and down, and we've seen stuff made to be collectible,
right?
And when you put collectible right there on the cover, it's not really a collectible because they made more than enough.
Nor is it an investment.
Yeah.
Even though you might buy it and the price might go up on it, it's not really an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Because because it's something that's hard to sell.
Yes.
It's not hard to sell gold or silver because the price is out there every day.
Yeah, there's a set price for that particular item, and anything that's collectible is going to fluctuate and be on the whim of whoever.
Well, gold's going to fluctuate too, but the price is
it's a different type of fluctuation.
Right. There's no negotiation.
It's an agreeable fluctuation.
Right.
They say the gold is worth this, and it's going to be worth this.
Soybeans are worth this. Cattle are worth this.
Yeah.
But with collectibles, each one, it's an individual thing, and you got to haggle with whoever you're selling it to. I just thought that just struck me as someone said, "What do you do when you get gold?" And I was like, "Wow, it's really easy to sell gold. There's you don't go to the gold dealer and he says, it's worth $300 today. How about I give you $200?"
Right.
That doesn't happen. They'll buy it because they think it's going up.
Yep. And with collectibles, there's also a time limit. I don't think people realize that eventually, there is a time limit to who is interested in these items.
Right.
I know someone who can't sell her father's comic collection because all the people that would have bought them, unfortunately, like her father, have passed.
Yeah.
Those are all Western stuff that were done in the Golden Age, and there's not enough people collecting that stuff. So there's also that limit. Or like we were having the conversation before about those Pongo toys. For a while, they were very expensive. And then now you could go on eBay and find a whole collection for a few bucks because the market for it isn't there anymore.
Comic book speculators. I'll show you the cheap book I got this week. This is one that's been sitting on my Amazon wish list for a couple of years now. I think it's like $20 on Amazon. So of course I go, how much is it on eBay? Shipped and taxed, it was $10 on eBay. And it's Rusty Brown, Chris Ware book. No, I just was like, I want to read some Chris Ware I haven't read. A bookmark fell out of it.
Let me just warn remind our viewers that I'm on my cell phone and StreamYard controls are limited.
So he can't get me on a solo. But so you can only see a little of it. Chris Ware, like I said, I learned to love Chris Ware stuff when I started reading it like a Sunday strip. Because for years and years, as he was an artist, a cartoonist I should have been into, but I just every time I read it, I was like, I don't get it. I love the artwork, don't like the writing. Then with what's his name, the smartest boy in the world, Jimmy Corrigan, the smartest boy in the world. Finally, after trying to read it a few times, I just said, you know what? I'll just read a couple. I read a couple of pages, and it took me like 2-3 weeks to read it, maybe more. I don't even remember. But I was like, you know what? I like it like that. I can spend some time with the pages and then just put it down. And there's not like a page turning, compelling storyline. 90-inch TV, Jeff. It's not like it's plot driven and there's a compelling storyline. It's a page turner. It's kind of a weird artsy slice of life. So you can live with a couple of pages and then put it down, and then live with a couple of pages and then put it down. So I'm happy to get this, and it's in beautiful shape too. You know, sometimes you get on eBay and it's catch as catch can, but this one was obviously brand new and unread, and the bookmark that was in it fell out, so I can't tell you who I got it from. But I'm happy to get, like I said, $10 for this giant hardcover. I'm happy with that one. Mm-hmm.
What do you have from this week's haul, Wilson?
So I showed you Roar of the Worlds, which was the Godzilla book. Next we have here is Mumra the Ever Living, issue number 5, and it's part of the crossover event going on with Thundercats and Silverhawks.
Mumra's a Thundercat. Which Thundercat is Mumra?
So Mumra is the villain.
Okay.
To the Thundercats. He was already on Third Earth when the Thundercats showed up. Mumra is rumored to have been there since First Earth, and the monster kind of shape that Mumra takes is a bat. Okay. It is a creature that he kind of embodies. And I think this has been going through like his history, because there is in this particular one, he looks like he's walking around about the 1930s.
Uh-huh.
And at some point, he has this blue look to him that gives him more of a vampire.
Okay.
Kind of look. So I think this story is supposed to be kind of like his origin storyline.
I'm laughing because Paolo's not even trying to look close this week. I just leaned forward to get a better look. I'm like, Paolo's not leaning forward to get a better look.
I'm not reading that book. I don't care.
Not on his phone.
It's a good thing. Although I think it's kind of interesting that they want to explore Mumra.
Yeah, that is. I mean,
in the cartoon, there's never been an interest in figuring out exactly why Earth is Third Earth and what happened before. What happened to all the previous inhabitants of Earth, whether they were humans or mutated animals or whatever. Why are there mutants?
Well, the mutants, by the way, also does not come from Earth.
Right,
the mutants came from Plundar.
Yeah.
Plundar was the mutants, and then Thundera was the Thundercats. And so they were at war for a long time and then happened to crash land on Earth when what they're calling a third Earth. So this is the third age of the Earth. So it gives you the whole, it's so far into the future. We don't even know what happened on the planet. And there's very few, from the cartoons, very few things left. Every once in a while they'll come upon something, but the only things that were really left is the pyramids, which is what Mumra took over.
Yeah, and there's just people, both creators and fans, who love backstory. I'm not a backstory fan, but there are plenty of people who they want to know more.
Yeah, and there was like so many little hints here and there why things work the way they did in this world, enough that it had. I think it's the same reason why people love comic books that will have back issue stuff, or this happened and here's a hint for that. Wolverine was mysterious until he wasn't, and then you just got so many stories about him. So some stuff should be left a mystery, and other stuff people want to know. And I think it's because also when you have the fact that it was the same art studio that did Thundercats and did Silverhawks and did Tiger Sharks, they wanted a cohesive universe because there were hints of it. They would have monitors showing, oh, that's a character from another story. I think G.I. Joe and Transformers was one of those that kind of leaned into it. G.I. Joe, Transformers, and I think it's Inhumanoids, all was technically the same universe. And the only thread was the Hector Rivera news character that appeared in all of them.
Well, my brother-in-law wants to try out a Thundercats comic, but we don't have any in Portuguese.
Where's the blessed place to start reading? Somewhere I started making a list of comics to start with. I can't remember where I was writing it, though. I'm gonna find where I put that list. It's always tough to tell, to know what someone's taste is gonna be.
It is. So one of the tough things is that some people will come into the comic book shop and says, "Oh, I like this. Is there any comic book like it?" And sometimes there isn't. Oh, I love the Marvel movies. Marvel does not make a line of comics in that movie universe, and so you got to kind of lean them towards, what is it that you like, and maybe you'll be lucky, and the person will say, "I do like Spider-Man." And then, all right, this is not going to be like the TV shows, the comics, the TV shows and the movies, but this is the stories that inspired it, and it starts here. But then the question is, do you start them with the Ditko stuff, or do you start them with like the newer current stuff?
I'm looking over at my shelf. Start with Howard Chaykin's Black Kiss.
Start them with Cerebus.
Like, I would start, depending if they like sort of humor, I would start someone with Hate, Buddy Does New Jersey, Volume 1. I think that's a great place to start, because it's very sort of broad, and it's got a lot of funny stuff in there, but you gotta like sort of a normal humor, a little bit twisted. Have either of you ever read Hate, Buddy Bradley, Buddy Does New Jersey?
I haven't.
Check it out sometime, and your brother-in-law can check it out too. It's about, I think it came out in 1990, and my dryer keeps buzzing. I should unplug it.
A few years ago, somebody published Larry Gonick's Cartoon History of the Universe, the first 2 volumes. And that would be funny because Gonick is not trying to be subversive like Robert Crumb was. So I think that if that was still available, that would be an interesting way to start off an adult on comics.
Box Office Poison would be another good one to start someone off on.
Oh yeah, I won't tell the amount of times I picked up the complete Box Office Poison trade paperback and said, is it this time I'm taking this home? And then I put it back.
I think because it's self-contained, it's got some drama in it, some humor in it. It's cartoony, so that I a lot of times I think like non-comic readers relate to cartoony more than they relate to muscle-bound superheroes.
Yes.
So that would be Box Office Poison would be another one I'd recommend.
Yeah, over here, a lot of people like Dilbert. I remember there was a time when they were trying to do collections of a bunch of newspaper strips. Zit, Kathy, what else? Well, Dilbert was always on the stints as well. And then, of course, there's Garfield, which was never funny, but people think it.
The first volume of Lock and Key.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a new comic book reader would like. It's been adapted to television, so they could always go watch that if they want. I think the comics are better. Volume 1, only like 6 issues, but it's good. It's got really pretty art and a nice concept.
And so also, he mentioned that he likes Thundercats. So I would suggest trade paperback of the current series.
Yeah.
Dynamite Entertainment makes paperback, so I don't know if they're global, so I don't know if he can get those books.
Yeah. The current Flash Gordon comic is good enough.
Well, Bone is a good recommendation, but which Bone? Because the complete Bone might be too much.
Right.
I think they're putting it out in color now, in slimmer volume. So maybe one of the volume 1 of like the color Bone. I don't know if it's out yet or not. Because that whole big chunk of Bone might scare some people off.
Yeah, it could. But then again,
it's cartoony. It does take a while to get through because it's so many pages. We don't want to scare off the new reader.
No.
We can.
And then people who would like, oh, well, I'm not a comic book reader because they're not into superhero stuff. I used to suggest the Sandman stuff. Mm-hmm. That seems to be really popular with the non-comic book readers.
Yeah.
Because there were trade paperbacks out that they would like. It was weird enough because it's the whole dream kind of a thing, but it was written pretty important, so to speak.
Yeah, because you don't want to scare off the people with the weird stuff. But on the other hand, Neil Gaiman is a writer that's very easy to understand. It's very engaging.
Yeah.
So any non-comic book, anyone coming from outside comic books could pick up any Neil Gaiman series, and they'd have fun. They'd have fun reading it.
Yeah, I agree.
Eric suggests Criminal.
Any volume of Criminal. Any volume of Stray Bullets. You may as well start with the first volume, but you really don't have to. But Criminal are all individuals, so you can pick up any or any of the Brubaker and Phillips stuff. They got some other done-in-one graphic novels beside Criminal.
Goodbye, Chunky Rice. I'm not sure.
I'm not familiar with that.
I can't remember if I read that or not.
Yeah, I know I haven't read. I know it exists, and I think I kind of remember what it is, but I've never read it.
In the late aughts, there were a lot of big chunky indie graphic novels from booksellers, from book publishers, and I read a few of them and liked some of them and didn't, and some got really good reviews and stuff, and I was like, like Blankets by what's his name, who did Ginseng that I love, Craig Thompson. Did he do Blankets? I think that's it. Yeah, he everybody loved Blankets. I read Blankets and was like, Oh, that just reminds me. I just watched a 45-minute documentary on Joe Matt, which was really good. It was mostly by, I forget who, someone on YouTube put it together. And it was mostly a lot of talk with Steph and Chester Brown. And one of the lines they had was in the middle of the 2000s, just when indie autobiographical comics like Blankets were getting, really popular with the book publishers. That's when Joe Matt stopped working because he wasn't making any money doing comics. It's like, oh.
I've never really been that interested on autobiographical comics, especially because the great Harvey Pekar, I've actually found him to be a very boring person.
I got into him later. I tried reading Harvey Pekar in my younger days in the 80s and wasn't into it. But then when Dean Haspiel started doing some of his stuff, like Quitter, I liked Harvey Pekar a lot better. So I have to say I was a latecomer to Harvey Pekar. I still haven't read a lot of the early stuff, but most of the stuff he did in the 2000s I read and enjoyed. Like I said, since Dean drew Quitter, I particularly liked it. He did a really good job with it. What else do we have? Not Clyde fans. It's a Good Life If You Don't Weaken, maybe. That's a fake autobiographical comic. But a lot of them are. Like Joe Matt's Peep Show was autobiographical, but there was a lot of sort of, confessional at times. But but it was a cartoon. It wasn't real life, so.
Persepolis is always popular, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's something that usually attracts non-comic people.
Right. Persepolis. The creator just died.
Yeah.
A month or two ago. Yeah. As we talked about when she died.
Mm-hmm.
That one's not bad. There's a Persepolis too, also. Yeah, and you know what's really good that nobody knows exists is the Rick Geary True Crime series. Probably because the true crime is so huge in podcasts. He's got, I've got, 15 graphic novels, true crime, and they're true crime graphic novels. So he's like not fictionalizing them. He's giving you just the facts. And his once again, his cartoony art style is very pleasant and easy to digest. So those, first time readers might like a lot too. He did them all before True Crime Podcast became really big. You could make a true crime podcast out of a Rick Geary book. I wonder if anyone's ever done that.
I guess they could do a reading. There's a few channels doing comic book readings.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you try to do that, it will sound like a true crime podcast.
Right. That would exactly. That would make a perfect little fun true crime podcast. I just started following Rick Geary on Facebook. He's got some interesting little pieces he's putting up. Let's show you another racing comic. Another racing comic is M1 Monster League Racing, which I'm really enjoying the Jay Lee art on. And finally, we're getting some monsters. There's one of the monsters. The people are taking this performance-enhancing drug to race. His layout is just crazy. And they work. They all work. They've all got this, he's got really sort of different sort of layouts, and they're all working. It's amazing. But it's about a teenage girl who her father moved to Japan, so of course she had to move to Japan too, and she found out, and she was really not happy about it. I think she's from California, and so there's this one of her Japanese classmates. She really wants to be friends with her, So she's got to really be in front. I think it's very young adult, the actual writing. And they're friends, and she takes her to this underground racing, which I really can't figure out. They're racing in literal cars, but I really can't figure out the space of the racing. Like, because Jay Lee is not interested in showing you the racetrack. And if there is a physical race, maybe it's all, but she went and bought a physical car, so it can't be virtual. Mm-hmm. But they're all taking this wild. There's a little vial. That's what turns you into a monster. It's this evil guy who wants monsters. He started handing this stuff out, though nobody knows who he is. So you take this stuff, you kind of turn into a monster, but you win the race. So we'll see where it goes from here, but I really love the art.
So it's a futuristic techno fantasy setting?
Yeah. I think that's a good description of it. Futuristic techno fantasy. And it's good. There's one of the guys just turned into a monster because he wants to win.
I am intrigued by the direction Jay Lee is taking his art nowadays, because
I read a few more issues of his.
Jay Lee is going to be unrecognizable like David Mazzucchelli became.
Could be. He's still. This is almost unrecognizable from the Gunslinger I've been reading.
Mm.
Not because the Gunslinger has so many spotted blacks and so much silhouette, and this has none. There's no spotted blacks. It's all color, very little spotted blacks. Almost all color and thin line, and no silhouettes. And it's very much, the art is very much more techno fantasy, as you say, kind of. It's very pretty. There's more of a Japanese influence on it, of course, because it takes place in Japan. I think he's using some of that, but yeah, it's very, very different than that. Like I'm really, this is probably my favorite Jay Lee artwork I've seen. And
I still recognize the type of art. I can make the connection to his Inhumans work, but when it comes to storytelling, it's even further away from Inhumans than Inhumans was to his X Factor days.
Nobody does panel borders like that.
Right.
But it all works. That's the crazy part. It all works just 100% fine. And then when he drops in, what was that one? He hits you with this crazy splash page and panel borders. Then he hit the page turn was beautiful. On this, all of a sudden, he gives you just a full page splash of this beautiful cherry blossom tree or whatever it is with the water and the characters sitting under it. And then he does some. Where's that one? He did a lot of it in that issue I did a video on with the circle. Where is it? I remember it hitting me going, ooh. He's got all these jagged line stuffs. Then he hits you with 2 pages of sedate circle designs. And it's just terrific stuff. It really is, I have to say. I'm really enjoying this Jay Lee art. But some people were saying they didn't like the story. It was a little too young adult for them. But it's like, I like the art so much. I'm fine with the story.
I'm not sure that I would. Well, without reading it, I can't say if it's young adult or not. But just
yeah, I don't really know. The only reason I'm saying it's young adults is it kind of stars young adults.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be. I heard someone else call it that, but I don't know. The art is certainly way more ambitious than young adult, your typical young adult art.
Right, because there's a certain I wouldn't say style, but there's a certain language to doing young adult comics.
Yeah.
And this is not it.
No. This is its own language. He's inventing stuff. Like I said, June, what's her name, is doing a terrific job on the color. June Chung, terrific job on the color. She gets it totally. So, all those light, bright colors at times. Very nice. Colors you usually don't see in comic books. And very graphic design color in a lot of places. And illustrative color a little bit in the figures indication. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this series.
The audio is very, I don't know, windy or choppy.
Yeah, there's a strange sound. I just figure it's Paolo's phone. Okay, let me hit you and see.
Yeah, still getting it.
I just think it's Paolo's phone giving us that wind sound.
Air conditioning on a few minutes ago, but now I shut it off now.
I don't think it's just a weird sound. I don't know what it is. It could just be over the phone.
Right.
I have this thing on top of the table, and it's glass, and it maybe vibrates. Let's see here.
More of a rumble.
Yeah, it's more like someone's breathing into it.
Hit your mute button for a second. Is there a mute button there? Let's hear.
Yep. It's Pablo.
Yep. Something on your end. Could just be the line.
Because it just hits the phone.
The waves going through the air. Oh, maybe he's gonna try some headphones or some such. We'll see if it's waves or not that way. Want to show us another comic?
Sure. So continuing the Thundercats and Silverhawks, this issue is, I believe, Thundercats X Silverhawk.
Aha.
So
have you read any of those yet?
I haven't read any of them. The most I've done was able to skim through it.
Sounds quiet now.
The artwork, and that ends up working better. That's where I've gotten to. So
okay.
It's like I've just been skimming it, and it's like it has interesting looking stuff. And again, it's one of those things where I'm still put off by the designs of one of the Thundercats, because he has this weird fake mustache thing going on. It's not on model, and I don't know if that and he's on the cover too. And it's like it's slowly growing on me, but it just seems odd because he just never had it, and I don't know if that's really just to indicate that so much time has gone by. But again, I haven't read enough of it to see what kind of a flashback they're even attempting to do. But I've just been gathering them together.
Ah, okay. You just been collecting them.
I've been collecting them. I haven't been reading them. I've been collecting them. So they're all in mint unread condition.
Yeah, but all the Thundercats are older in that series, right?
What was that?
Are all those are the Thundercats older in the series?
That's the only one that looks like it has some form of aging because of his mustache. But Wily Kid and Cat are still the young age, so they haven't aged them at all from what I could recall. In fact, in this particular story, again, because they're doing flashbacks and forwards, this particular issue looks like it has Lionel as a kid. And then within the story, he's an adult. So these have to be doing flashbacks and forwards. And the weird thing, like I said, it's like the only one that looks like was aged up is Tigra.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that's the only indication out of the rest of the book that I've seen of the characters' designs.
We have SBPT.
Comic book kaijus. But we're ready to show the Godzilla book. Do I have any other kaiju books? technically the Transformers, because they're giant robots. Can you consider them kaiju? Maybe.
Now, giant robots are giant robots.
That's true too. They're their own thing.
They're mecha.
But I have Absolute Batman, and he's drawn huge.
Yeah. Big dumb Batman.
Big dumb Batman. There you go. Couldn't tell you what's going on. I've been picking
I
it
saw
up.
some post this week that just made me laugh. They're like, "Oh, they're hinting at the team up of Absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Everyone's all excited to see him team up." And I'm like, are people that really that gullible? Like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman have been teaming up for 50 years. And first of all, you thought they weren't going to team up in this new lineup?
They may just be excited. Maybe this is the only Batman they ever read.
Who knows?
And for them, they're really excited because
maybe I'm just old and jaded.
That's right.
I think there are young readers picking up Absolute Batman, and it's becoming their Batman. So maybe
I could see that. I could see that. This is not my father's Batman. This is my Batman. He's cooler than my father's Batman. He's bigger. I bet you my Batman can beat your Batman. And I'm sure those conversations might be going on.
Big dumb Batman needs no prep time.
That's right, because he's big dumb Batman. So again, if this is making people excited about comic books, I'm all for it.
Yep.
If it may not be my Batman,
I don't put it down. I just got a little jaded that they were getting all excited
my
about
Batman. When I was reading, my Batman would have been 86. So that would have been the John Byrne era of Legions would have started. I would have been reading it right after Crisis. So my Batman would have been before all the stuff happened to him. It was the Dark Knight.
If I had to have a Batman, which I really don't, it would be the Neil Adams, Jim Aparo Batman.
Okay.
Like I said, I always define my Batman as opposed to the modern one by, in my Batman's origin story, after his parents died, he traveled around the world studying with all the great minds. Right. Current Batman, after his parents died, he went around the world studying with all the great fighters.
Right.
And that's kind of the difference to me between eras of Batman. My Batman from the 70s was a detective who used his brains. Post Dark Knight, he was a badass. He was a badass who fought, who used his fists. That's how he... that's popular Batman.
I've seen the McDonald's promotion, Godzilla meets Hello Kitty. I've seen the promotion. The McDonald's near me did not have them the day I went. And I was quite upset because it was like, I'm going to try to get that the day it was supposed to come out. And it has not. I've been to one other McDonald's after that. And again, it didn't have it. So far, I've went twice and have not gotten any of the Godzilla promotions with Hello Kitty. It's amazing how so many people are going out for them. I am not worried about them selling out because they're McDonald's toys. Yeah. You can find them anywhere.
They make a lot of them.
They make so many. All you have to do is go onto eBay, search McDonald's toys, and you can buy any one you want for $1.
Or just wait 2 weeks and go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Because they have them for a while.
They do have them for a while. And so it just so happens this might be the most popular one to get sold.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's one of those things where it's so many people seem to be talking about it, which I've never seen them talk about that many Happy Meal toys. I'm liking them. I like the idea, but I tend to like the Happy Meal toys of yesteryear when they were more like toys. Lately, they're more like bobbleheads, and they made too many of them in that kind of format, where they all kind of became some form of a Funko Pop. And McDonald's has all the rights to make whatever toys they make. That's what seems popular. But to me, I enjoyed the toys that were more action figure like. Um, These I think were Burger King, and they're the Universal monsters, and they're the same size as like Star Wars toys.
Oh.
So I like them because they kind of fit within that collection.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You can easily put like here's the Frankenstein's monster, the werewolf, and
The Burger King.
These were, I believe, these were Burger King, and they came with they came with cards that would glow in the dark too. And the Gill Man actually has an action feature where you could submerge him in water, squeeze his chest, and he absorbs the water, and then you squeeze it, and he shoots the water out from his chest. So like that's why this one's like transparent and a little bigger than all the rest because it had this kind of like interactive.
That had to fit that bladder in there.
Exactly. And both like Frankenstein's monster originally came with like a table that you could put him on, and then you put a light behind him so his head would kind of glow. And then the Wolfman came in like what would be a little chest, a cellar. It was supposed to be that he popped out of the cellar. And then Dracula, which I do not have here, it was made that he came in a coffin. So it's like you had those. I feel like these are just the same size of many action figures, and I always thought these were the type of toys that I thought was really cool for a Happy Meal toy. And then these tend to be slightly expensive because, again, they made a ton of them, so people still sell them still in the package, and so that makes it collectible. But again, those didn't really become, I would say, expensive until after 30 years since they came out. But all other McDonald's toys, you could find them, again, pretty cheap. Even the the Marvel ones that I have are all some kind of an action figure. Not exactly, because I think there are certain rules of licensing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where maybe one of the arms won't move, but the rest of them
they got crazy rules,
and it becomes a different category.
One of the books I got this week, I don't think I showed this last week. I don't remember when I got it. This is the one our friend Bunch sent me. Pulps from 1970.
Ooh, okay.
Which reminds me too that like if you were to write a book now about like this is 1970, writing book about books that came out in the 30s, you'd be writing like about books that came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
But and it's a bit stained too. I had to keep this one in with dryer sheets.
Oh,
for, a few days because it had a musty smell. But it's got examples of the cover art, which I always like. It's got a good 20 pages at least of cover art.
Oh, that's great, and they're large too.
Yeah, and then it's got what I assume are pulp stories. So from the pulp magazines, with spot illustrations on them. I don't think I've ever read any pulp stories. I, of course, have looked at like the covers online and stuff. And sometimes when I watch Mercenauts show, they show off like pulp covers. And I'm always like, oh, that one's nice. Oh, that one's nice. So I'm looking forward to reading some what they thought were good pulp stories back in 1970.
And I bet a lot of them were just stuff they were allowed to print.
Yeah.
Well, back then it was still the 28 plus 28 renewal, so some of those may have been on the public domain by then.
Speaking of public domain, it's the birthday of Winnie the Pooh. It's published 100 years ago, and they considered today to be its I think publication date. so it's officially its birthday.
Is that why I saw somebody showing off a museum tour they were doing with the stuffed animals that inspire Winnie the Pooh?
Yes. So that was me.
Why that came across my feed.
That was my video. The New York I had posted the video. I had posted a video that I had of Winnie the Pooh. So the New York Public Library here in New York has the original stuffed animals that was donated to New York's public library by the family itself. So you can go see the original Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Eeyore, Kanga, and Piglet. Kanga does not have Roo with her because Roo was lost in the apple orchard near his place, so they were never able to find it. But the queen, the new queen, had contacted the original manufacturer who still makes dolls and toys, and they still had the blueprints or the instructions, the pattern to make Roo. So what they did was she had commissioned them. They had some of the original material and the patterns, and they made a new one and gifted it to the New York Public Library when the royals were visiting at some point. So there is a Kanga, a Roo now for the collection. They haven't been put together. Right now it's in a different part of the library. But again, these particular characters and exhibits have moved around in the library. Last time I saw them, they were located downstairs in the children's library, but now they're in an exhibit of Americana books. I didn't get to actually see what the full exhibit was about. We happened to be in the library, and my sister needed to pick up something, so we happened to go into this section, and it was like, oh, they have it displayed here. And it's like, okay, so I took a quick video of that one, and they have a page from the original Wizard of Oz book. So that's another video that I had posted, and it's a lot bigger than I expected the original art to be. I don't know why. I thought it would be smaller, but it was a good size. And they talk about how the library has quite a few pages of the original artwork from the Wizard of Oz. So it's pretty neat to see.
Some of the writers in the pulp book.
Writers in the pulp book. Chapter 1, Adventure Pulps. Edgar Rice Burroughs, Edgar Wallace, Frederick C. Payton, William P. McGivern, Charles Freeman. Sports, Paul W. Gallico, Handley Cross. Aviation and War, George Bruce, William E. Barrett, Eddie McCrae. Western and Frontier, Max Brand, J.E. Grinstead. Luke Short, Powder River Bill. Detective and Mystery, Dashiell Hammett. Finally, a name I recognize here. Rodriguez Ottolenghi, T.T. Flynn, Ray Bradbury. There's one.
There's another one, yeah.
Innocence, Russ West, Clement Wood, John Held Jr. Isn't he a painter? An illustrator?
I do not know.
Carrington North, Harry Irving Shumway, Robert E. Howard, Mindret Lord, Tennessee Williams, Robert E. Howard again, Mary Elizabeth Councilman, Malcolm Jameson, H.P. Lovecraft, Harl Vincent. So there's some names. Only about 6 did I recognize.
Yeah.
I would say for me, like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I
might be exaggerating with 6.
Yeah. I think Dashiell Hammett I would definitely read.
The Maltese Falcon, yep.
I've read Edgar Rice Burroughs before, so I kind of know his writing. I've
never read any H.P. Lovecraft.
And the Lovecraft stuff I never got really into it. I read a few chapters of stuff, but it was more of like it was a book that kind of like has short stories that you could see his development into creating Cthulhu. So that was the same thing with reading books, uh, creative Conan. His books, I read some of his books where it's like, again, it's a compendium type thing that had stories where you could see where he was going, and then to create his, whatever he's most known for, type of thing. So, but that unfortunately also included books like Solomon Kane, where it's like, whew, it's a bit to get through.
Speaking of Solomon Kane, here's issue 2 of Patrick Zurcher's The Lion Errant, and this is the best Solomon Kane I've read.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I liked his first miniseries, Patrick Zurcher, and this second miniseries is even better so far. He's in India, and just meeting people and getting involved with the locals. A little nudity thrown in there for you.
Nice.
And there's all sorts of political stuff going on. He meets up with a couple of people. You know what's funny about this too? This whole, like I said, it continues his adventure in India. And then this woman and her father, he's a Jewish scholar. She's kind of an adventurer now since Solomon Kane taught her how to be. She's just traveling with her father. And they're like, oh, what have you been up to? And he gives this flashback story to when he was in Africa, before he got to India and was in Africa. But it's like, I was like, at first I was like, is he, going to tell us what happened in another? But it's like 3 pages of flashback, which is its own story. It's like this never happened in any comic. It was like he was just flashing back to this story because at the beginning of this series, as you can see, he's holding a staff. Turns out that's a magical staff. That's why the lion is guiding him. And so he just took 3 pages, told the story of how he got that. I was just like, when I started reading him and he had the staff, I was like, oh, he must have got that at the end of last miniseries. I didn't remember. It came out last year. I'm like, and if he got it at the end, it must have just been like, oh, here's a staff or whatever. But no, there was a whole other adventure he had to get that staff that they summed up in 3 pages for us. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. That never happened in the Patrick Zurcher never told us that story besides those 3. That was an interesting little, it was kind of like, Conan recapping one of his adventures, but the adventure happened in a comic like 2 issues ago.
Right.
This was the adventure never happened in a comic that he recapped. So I find that kind of fun.
I'm curious if he recapped one of the books.
No. Maybe it was a book. Who knows? Yeah.
Maybe it was like it could have been a story where he gets the staff and they never did anything with the staff again. Yeah. So maybe he picked it up from that and it was like, okay, here's what happened to the staff.
Because that would be this like African wizard who became like this, wise man on his shoulder for part of this adventure going on. So it was like, okay, we got a whole other adventure inside our adventure.
The African wizard appears in more than half of the original Solomon Kane stories.
I've only read Solomon Kane comic books, and God, have they all been boring. Besides Patrick Zurcher's.
well, the Howard Solomon Kane stories are kind of repetitive because there's like 2 or 3 that are set in Europe, and the rest are all in Africa, and it's monster kills whole village of natives. Wizard tells Solomon Kane where to go find the monster. Solomon Kane goes and kills monster.
Well, he's telling the story with really pretty art.
Yeah. See, I could see that being fun if I was someone who read the books, happened to pick this up and go, oh, this summarizing this or that book. So I think that's fun because when you do get like some of the Conan stuff, his back stuff can be fun as well. Because I read some of the books and I enjoyed them.
I bought a volume of the complete Robert E. Howard Conan. I think I read about half of it. I haven't gotten to the other half yet. I was reading it on the train for a while. Then I switched because it's long. The complete stuff is long.
Yeah.
So I switched over to some other books and never quite got back to it. I'll have to do that sometime because it's good stuff. Like I said, first time I've ever read that Robert E. Howard Conan books, besides comic adaptations.
Yeah, I remember reading Conan the Freebooter. I don't remember if I've read any of the other Conan books. It's very well possible I picked up a bunch of them after the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was like, oh, because Savage Sword was around, the magazine was around, but it was like, oh, let me try one of the books. And I remember enjoying the book a lot. So I don't know if I went back to any of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else do I have here?
What else do you have?
I have Transformer issue number 35.
Robots in Disguise.
That's Wheeljack on the cover.
Wheeljack, who is one of the Autobots that's based on an actual race car.
Yep. You can see the colors that he has on there. So he's on the cover of that one. And then that leads me to these books that I ordered, which are both issue number 31 of Transformers. And I got them because they are blank covers. I figured I could do some Transformer artwork on there after I did the card set last year. I've been getting some requests from fans. It's like, oh, do you have any of the cards? And I have sold most of them. And then they're asking for cards that, well, I never received those cards. So I can't give you any of the cards. So I figured, well, if I draw a couple, here's what the cover looks like. It has Megatron on the cover. So I figured I'll pick up some blank books that I ordered from Midtown and had them delivered to the store. And then I can draw some Transformers on there and see if they sell. Gives me a reason to make art. Yep.
Oh, I want to show you a book I made. Since last week, I got a spiral binder.
Ooh, okay.
It punches all the holes, and I decided, since people always said you should make a coloring book, I decided to make a coloring book. So that's the cover of it. Art from the Edge of the Dream World coloring book, because I made a magazine of that name a few years ago. So I just took some of my 3 marker drawings and blew them up to 8.5 by 11. Got 20 pages in here. And made a coloring book. I figured, why not? I got the artwork. I got the binder. But it's all my strange little drawings.
And the artwork works so well for a color.
Yeah. It's all thick black lined artwork with closed off shapes. So it works,
Yep.
Works fine for a coloring book. So far I put together volumes 1 and 2. And I can print an out. This is easy binding too. Though you can only punch like 4 or 5 pages at a time. I got some pretty thick paper.
Right.
You just put it in the slot and go chunk chunk. Move that. Chunk chunk. Chunk chunk. And spin that bind. There's actually an electrical part of it that'll spin the coil in for you, but I haven't even bothered with that because it's not that hard to spin a coil.
Have you looked at doing perfect bound at home?
What was that?
Have you looked into doing perfect bound at home?
I do that when I
There's
glue
a
stuff.
Machine that can.
I kind of like the spiral for the coloring book because you can have it flat. Looks like Wilson got a call.
Captain Infinity wants you to address some of the things you've been saying about time travel.
Okay. Well, no, that's just the thing I said about time travel. Well, it was in response to him then. When he was complaining about a character in the story getting time travel wrong, and I said, well, who's to say he's just a character in the story? He may be getting, that may be why he's getting time travel wrong, because he's not the one, he's not the author. And that made him say, it's not the author who's getting the time travel wrong, it's the character in the story.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's now he had to revisit.
I'm the last one left. Where'd everybody go? There you are.
Yeah, it's the cell phone.
Yeah, I figured as much.
No, Captain Infinity had to rewrite some of his conclusions about City on the Edge of Forever.
Okay. I see. Yeah, because like I said, and I only thought of it because of the problem he was posing. I can't even remember what it was now, because I had not thought of that, because the problem he was posing, that seemed like the obvious solution to me. There's no complaining in my book, only telling you how it is. Characters in books are allowed to get time travel wrong.
But how do we know if the character is getting time travel wrong because the character doesn't know how time travel works, or if the writer doesn't know how time travel works and thinks that the protagonist is being clever?
That's the decision you're going to have to make. I think in that case, what he gave us, it seemed obvious to me it was the character. That's the only reason I thought of it then on the spot, because I thought he was blaming the author when it was the character. But I guess it isn't always that cut and dry. Like, I can't even remember the example he gave, but it seemed to me when he gave that example that it was the character.
Sorry about that. Someone knocked on the door, so I went to go check what was going on.
What are you doing?
It was me.
Chris has appeared.
Look at that.
Knock, knock.
Well, welcome.
Who can it be now? Let me show you the expensive book I got this week.
Okay.
And I got it because of TikTok. I was watching TikTok. And this guy came up telling you about the new book. Let's start with some backstory. We've all heard of artists' lofts, right?
Yeah.
Artists' lofts, especially in New York City. But I really didn't know much about them besides they were industrial space that artists moved into because they were cheap. But it turns.
I thought you were talking about the brand. Artist Loft. What I get from Michaels.
No, didn't.
But
talk
I know
about
what
building.
you mean. But I know where that name came from.
Right.
When I first thought you was talking about, I thought we were at the art supply portion of.
Nope, we're not at the art supply store. We're in New York City in the late 1800s.
Okay.
When there used to be a lot of factory buildings.
Right.
And slowly over time, manufacturing work left New York City. And they left all these factory buildings behind. And none of them were zoned for residential. So in order to do with anything with these buildings, they had to be brought up to residential code, which was way too expensive. So what they did instead was rent them out cheap to artists as a living and studio space, and and the artists, and they usually didn't have heat. They didn't have running water. They didn't have bathrooms. And artists had to bring them up, had to add all that stuff themselves. And as long as they did, I guess they weren't getting kicked out, because whoever owned the building couldn't afford to, tear it down and rebuild a new one anyway. So I think he said in the year it became formalized maybe in the 70s. Where is that? Let me see if I can find the loft law. Yeah. Primarily protected by something known as the loft law. In 1971, this was informal throughout the 50s and 60s. In 1971, the artist in residence law legalized roughly 1,000 lofts as joint live-work quarters for certified artists, as more of these industrial buildings were left vacant. Buildings often displayed the letters AIR, air, on their exteriors so that in event of a nighttime fire, firefighters knew the spaces were inhabited and lives were at risk. That's how industrial and vacant neighborhoods were. In 1982, the loft law expanded protections to renters living in commercial and industrialized zones, protecting their occupancy and freezing the rent until the landlords brought the buildings up to residential code. So that's why these lofts were so cheap, was because the landlords were not bringing those buildings up to residential code.
Right.
So you got a loft for a few $100s a month, big open space. You had to take care of it. You had to put in running water and heat. Matter of fact, in one of the and this guy decided he just found out about this. Like I said, I kind of knew about this, but I don't know anybody who had a loft. I didn't really know how much they still existed. And some of these people are really old in the lofts now, the artists.
Right, because they've been there.
He found out about them. He started looking up where these lofts were and who lived in them. And he started going and taking pictures. So this is Artist in Residence. Artist in Residence by Joshua Charow. And the whole book is photos of artists in their lofts. And a lot of them are old. At least one of them died. I don't understand this book design where you only get where half the page is blank. That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Some of the pictures are full, and they're just, there we go. And they're just beautiful. I looked through about half of it today, and I was really just blown away. I was really, because here are all these, and these aren't famous artists. These are just working artists in New York City who have been living in these artist lofts for, matter of fact, he gives you the index, tells you what year they moved into their loft. Let's see, where is it? Because there's 274, there's 2 pages of, so it's like, Ann Mason, 1958 to 2004. She's the one of the ones who died before the book came out. Kathleen Lutton, 1959, 1965 to 2000. So the years go all through the 60s, all through the 70s, and this is how long they've been living in these lofts. What surprised me, I haven't gotten to the back yet, but it ends. There's a 2003 and a 1999 and a so it went into the 80s and 90s. Staten Island, 2004 to 2026, and some of them were kicked out, but just beautiful photographs of these lofts and the artists in their loft. And I just found the whole thing very moving. A lot of the artists were in wheelchairs; they were so old, and it's just amazing to me. This part of New York City that you never get to see, that's been going on for decades. And I know it's been going on for decades. I just don't know anyone who's living in an artist's loft.
Right. I've known people who've lived in converted ones where it's like, this used to be a loft, now it's a condo.
Now it's residential. Those are the ones where the landlord brought it up. Those are the yuppies lived in those ones.
Yeah. So it was.
These are all still industrial space.
Yeah.
Except what the artists have done to them.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a few documentaries about that where I know there was one where they focused on one of the buildings and they went to a couple of different people and it's like, oh, I've been living here since such and such. And, it was great for artists because it's such a big space to be doing large canvas paintings.
So many of them
they
are
had
large
freight elevators and stuff like that. Sometimes the only elevators.
Right.
would be the freight ones, and so I've seen many pictures and heard stories, but never been
I've seen a
working
few
one
pictures and
myself.
stories along the way. First time I've seen a book.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I got to look. There's nothing to read. It's all pictures,
Okay.
Except for the introduction. But I got through about half of it before my washing machine part arrived.
Right.
Which, by the way, isn't that part worked fine? Something else is wrong now. Might be the lid switch. I think I'm going to figure that out.
Okay.
You think there would have been a point in time when comic book people would be in those lofts?
There is a book. Matter of fact, I just looked it up. There was a book about artists in their studios that came out in like 2006. I forget what the name of it was. I was just looking, and I always meant to get it and never had. You know that picture of Jack Kirby standing up, and his drawing board's in front of him, and he's leaning on it. So you see the whole that came from this book of cartoonists in their studios. But all these lofts also look like what it would look like if Chris Wilson and I had a loft to fill up. Because they're all filled up with decades worth of paint, paintings, art supplies, knickknacks. Like a few of the artists really made sort of very organized living spaces along with their organized art spaces. But most of them, it's just a mismatch stuff as far as the eye can see.
I know Mike Kaluuya talks about a story of sharing a studio in the industrial area of New York where at night there's nothing there.
Right.
And it wasn't a living one. It was one where they just worked day and night in.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about having, art spaces. And I think it was himself, I think Walt Simonson. It was like 4 artists.
That was the one with Walter, Frank Miller. Who else was there? Mike Kaluuya. I know Walt's talked about it before. There was 4 of them living in. I know Walter and Frank Miller were there. Kaluuya was the. No, Kaluuya was in the studio with Barry Windsor Smith, and there's a book called That's a separate studio. There's a book.
Alan Weiss. Was it Alan Weiss?
He might have been in Walter's one. I don't think he was in the studio one. It was Barry Windsor Smith, Mike Kaluuya, and one other guy. And there's a book called The Studio with all their artwork in.
Right.
Then when Frank Miller was doing Daredevil, he was in a studio with Walter Simonson, may have been Alan Weiss. There was at least 2 other people in there with them. Well, I can't remember at this time, but two separate the studios that I was just confusing.
Right. So so I've heard stories like that. Those are the only comic book people that I know that had something like that, or as close to the loft as possible. And then Continuity was in New York, but that was
right.
an ad agency type of thing by that point.
That was a straight up ad agency studio that all comic book people could rent a table in.
Going back to the time travel discussion, Captain Infinity has officially given up on guessing on or caring what the writers think.
That's good.
Yeah,
he freed himself.
That's right.
On his live streams when I'm in the chat, I have mentioned sometimes the writer was probably trying to do this, which is a natural thing for me to do because I'm always analyzing what they're trying to say. So second guessing is part of my shtick, but Captain Infinity's kind of lost patience for that.
All right, as we sit here, I just bought that cartoonist one. The Artist Within by Greg Preston. Because a guy sent me, it just cost me $28. Usually it goes for $40 to $60, but I found this one cheap one for like $24 on eBay, and I was like, maybe I'll get it. And he sent me an offer of $18, so I was like, all right, since I'm talking about it, I'll go get it before someone else does.
With collectibles, you can handle.
That's right.
Yep. The Artist Within is the one where that Jack Kirby picture comes from, and there's all other cartoonists in their studios.
Right.
And this guy was saying this was probably for a lot of them for the first time they've ever had their picture taken in their studio, because no one ever did that before. It's like, whoa. But yeah, I just loved the idea so much and I went to the author's website too, because you had to go to whatever website he had to buy it. Straight up $60, I think it was. I can't remember if I paid for shipping or not, or if that was included, but I may have paid even more. I don't remember. I'm spending all my money before I run out of it.
There you go.
So what are you working on tonight, Chris?
Decluttering the office.
Decluttering. I've got a lot of clutter because all the stuff from the laundry room is in my studio, as the washer is broken.
I have to declutter just to get to my art desk to do some artwork myself.
My semester starts next week.
Oh, yeah?
So I'll be in on the city on Tuesday.
What do you teach specifically?
Pratt in Manhattan.
What do you teach?
Well, one of my classes got canceled this semester. So the one that's left is digital media, which is basically teaching the Adobe suite. But I throw some other stuff in there too. Whatever I can think of.
Free alternatives? Open source?
Oh, I always let them know there. But the school provides them with the Adobe stuff. So that's
right.
But I always let them know about the free alternatives. Speaking of which, I just bought an app for the iPad, a drawing app that I saw someone else use on TikTok once again. And it's called Feather, like a bird's feather. And it's a 3D drawing app, but it's not for making 3D objects. It's for like if you want to make a sketch of a neighborhood in 3D, the first thing you do, it gives you like a grid, like a 3D grid that you've seen with the X, Y, and Z axis that you can move all around and stuff. And then you draw a guideline. So let's say you want to draw a wall. You go to you go to, like I said, here's the plane. You draw a guideline right there, and it just makes like a big piece of paper in that perspective. So then you just draw your building, one side of the building on that piece of paper. Then you draw another, and you just follow the guidelines. Where the other wall is going to be, you just draw another guideline, and it puts a second piece of paper right there. You just draw on that paper. So you're drawing like all four sides of the building, but in flat, but like in it puts it in 3D space. And then of course you can move it all around and look at it. So you can like draw that room, but first you draw one wall, then you draw the other wall, then you draw the third wall, then the fourth, and then you can spin all around it. And this person uses it for reference for her cartooning. So I was just like, and it was $15, no subscription, no nothing, but called Feather, like a bird's feather, because she kept saying feather, and I had no idea what she was saying. And somebody wrote, "What is the name of the program?" And she was like, "I said it 3 times, feather." And I wrote, "You said it 3 times, and I didn't understand it once."
That's interesting. So if you were to basically create a room, now you could basically, again, be able to use that for reference every time you need it, and things stay the same. Even if you did eventually drew a whole block, You could always use that as reference.
And people were like, why don't you just build a 3D model? And she's like, I don't want to build a 3D model.
It makes it it seems like it'll make it simple.
Yeah.
She can think in that flat dimension.
Right.
And let the computer, let the program make it into what she needs it to be.
It took me a little bit of understanding to figure out that the guideline made one flat wall, because the guide is in 3D space, and all of a sudden it's like this giant thing going off into 3D space. I'm like, what is that? And I could only draw on that. I'm like, how do I draw the bottom? I was like, every time you're drawing on a different plane, you just draw a different guideline, and you're drawing on, like, you want to draw in this space, you draw this guideline. You want to draw in this space, you draw like this guideline, and you just draw on that one piece of paper. It's like, that makes so much more sense. Good to see you, Paolo. Run the Great Legend.
And can you import images that you already drew into this?
I don't know. I just got it, so I don't. I watched one tutorial, and that's all I know.
All right. I mean, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. And the reason I got it is because I had $25 sitting in my Apple money, and it was $15.
Right.
And everything is so many apps are subscription based that I don't buy anything.
Right.
It's like you can't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, no thanks. I don't want to pay $10 a month to maybe
use something that I may use once or twice, and
15,
then never go back. Yeah.
$15 to maybe use once or twice. Fine. I got it. No problem. But $15 a month? No.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah. If I was going to use it every day, sure. If not, no.
Mm-hmm.
Get any comics this week, Chris?
No.
Did you read the last issue of Savage Dragon?
Was that 281?
I don't even remember. I think it's the one where they get back from Russia, and he finds out that Maxine has been making porno movies.
I don't know if I have it yet. It might be waiting for me at the store.
Okay,
but I read it.
Okay, yeah. I thought you're on the proofread list. So what do you got there?
That's a stack of Jody's comics that he buys that I read from time to time, and I'm a little behind on reading.
That's your to be read pile.
Yeah. Absolute Superman, Mask, Banana. I bet you guys have talked about this.
Banana?
We haven't, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Who put that one out?
That's a bad idea.
That's why we didn't talk about it.
No.
Because I worked for them for 2 years and then quit in a huff.
Oh.
And now I haven't been getting any bad idea books. I was the only one who was getting them anyway.
Okay.
They make good comics, though.
I didn't know you quit in a huff.
I quit in a huff.
Let's see. G.I. Joe. Absolute Green Arrow. Which, this is number 3. I have not read number 1 or 2, so. Let's see, another Mask. Absolute Batman. Absolute Catwoman. Absolute Catwoman. And I guess the rest of this is just a bunch of free comic book day stuff that I've been telling myself I'm going to look at some point, but I never have.
You can get greedy at free comic book day stuff, free comic book day, and never read any of them.
I didn't even pick these up. These are Jody's.
Right. That's why I stopped getting hardly at free comic book day. First of all, I don't go on free comic book day, but the LCS owner will, give me whatever. You guys want anything? Because, we're regulars. And I'll take 1 or 2 books. That's about it. There's nothing in your red pile?
The red pile will end up going back into Jody's office when I'm done.
Oh, what I wanted to mention about Savage Dragon is the last 2 issues went back to print. They had a second printing. That hasn't happened in a while for Savage Dragon. So I guess people wanted the porno issues.
Hard to say, because it made it made the news.
Did it make the news?
The comic book news.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. It may have.
It made it to Bleeding Cool.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Right. So the first one ended up getting like super speculator, like people are selling it for $300. The variant one. I guess they're both selling way above.
And I think know what it was too? That first one, was that 280? 281?
280 is the one. Yeah.
Had 3 versions that no one knew about.
What's the third version?
Each one was dirtier than the last, I think it was. So I think there was the one I got, the regular version, because usually there's like 2 different covers. But the last page was actually different on the 3 different versions. It was more explicit on each one, I think. I think there was like a safe one, a not so safe one, and a completely unsafe one.
I only saw 2.
I only saw the one I got. Maybe I'm wrong and there's only 2. And the one I got wasn't really safe, the regular version. So
yeah, I think there was just 2. Like, again, when he sends them for proofreading,
yeah,
there was 2 different pages for that last page.
Okay, so maybe there was just
there wasn't 2. 3.
Well, maybe it was 3 because of the 2 covers. So maybe because usually he puts it out with 2 covers. He puts it out with the Image Comics cover.
The 70s trade dress had the explicit, but the more gross version.
Okay, 70s
They're both
trade
explicit.
Well, I'm saying maybe there was a 70s one that wasn't explicit.
I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe that's why I heard 3.
I mean, there's a second printing of the explicit one, so you could technically say there's 3 versions because of that.
Maybe. Versions are us.
But so I don't know if it's like, okay, now everybody's speculating on everything. It's like they just heard for the first time that he's doing this raunchy stuff.
Yeah, because it's not the first issue that's like that.
Or maybe they read it and they're like, well, what happens? I gotta see what happens now. Because it's a major cliffhanger.
It was a good issue.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'm European enough to like it. Paolo's hosting us from his phone tonight.
Excellent.
My computer's at the shop.
You wouldn't even know the difference.
Artist in residence.
I have a better camera on my cell phone than on my laptop.
Laptop's in the shop. That's because he doesn't have a Mac.
Well, no, then it wouldn't be. I wouldn't be able to take it to the shop. I just have to buy a new one.
By the way, Great Legend Show said, "Good to see you, Paolo." When
you hadn't noticed the comment before. Yeah, I haven't seen Legend in a while.
Yeah. Huh. Good to see you.
I haven't stopped by Old Wolf's show, and of course, we also don't do. We haven't done Micah's show in a while about the fossils.
The 4-color fossils.
Yeah, that's long gone. Micah shows up every once in a while with some of his pulp purchases. Or
here is the other car-based one, which is Jewel Thief, issue number
That's an interesting cover.
Issue number 5 is going to be the last one. I think that's because they used to play. He's robbing a jewel with his Dungeons and Dragons, his old Dungeons and Dragons crew. And we've known from the beginning that it doesn't go to plan. First issue was like, plan didn't go to plan. So now we find we see where things don't go to plan, and we finally got to what happened and how bad things were, and people betraying each other in the middle of the heist and trying to get away. And then we get a flashback to something that happened when they were all in high school that may have something to do with this jewel heist going wrong. So it's been a solid heist book. What I also liked is there was a sneak preview of something called Dinner Date Number 1, and I actually liked it. So there was one where, because often these previews are like, But this preview actually worked as a preview. Because the whole thing was, because often a preview in one of these indie books is just like, 5 or 6 pages of the comic, which can or cannot give you the flavor of the comic. This one did a good job, because it's just there's a woman Uber driver picking up another woman, and they're kind of driving along. They're just having a chit chat. I think the driver's flirting with her a little bit. Then they get to their ride. I think that's the and most of it's just chit chat, and she's telling some stuff. They get to their destination. And she's like, "Oh, you need a hand getting your bag out of the trunk?" And she's like, "No, I got it." And then a body falls out of the trunk. So there was and the driver goes. So they look at him. The bottom of the bag falls out. There's a thud. And the driver just looks at her and goes, "I'm sure he had it coming." Oh, by the way, they were also, to give you a little local color, they were driving to the Gowanus Canal. And she's like, "You can just let me off here." She's like, right next to the Gowanus Canal. And she's like, "Oh no, I'm meeting someone. I get dropped off here all the time." So it was that closing, that closing 2 panels that made me say, all right, I got to read some more. The thud, right. And I'm sure he had it coming. So loved the comic, and I actually loved the preview. I hardly ever like any of the, like I said, because usually a preview is just either the first 4 or 5 pages or some random 4 or 5 pages that they and often the previews just don't work. I don't know if you found that at all. Since Wilson hasn't been reading his comics, he obviously hasn't been reading any of the previews in the back.
No, not at all.
But I'll have to keep I've already forgotten what the title is, to keep my eyes open for it. Dinner Date. There we go.
Dinner Date. Okay.
Dinner Date. Will he be a dream or a dud? That's Mystery Date.
I reread a couple of old Superman Elseworlds.
Yeah?
Yeah. Speeding Bullets, which is the one where baby Kal-El is found by the Waynes.
Okay.
Alan Davis art, I believe.
And Blood of My Ancestors, which is Gil Kane's and John Buscema's last work before they died.
And how did they read? Did you enjoy them?
Yeah, they're still good. I mean, there's some 90s writing, but they work well. Speeding Bullets is kind of one of the still of an early example of Elseworlds. So there was, while the story does take an obvious turn, it's a nice trip getting there. Some people might find that the idea that Luthor's Joker in that one a little bit forced. but it kind of works, and they transfer the Daily Planet stuff to the Gotham Gazette.
You didn't reread Batman Houdini, which I appear in?
I don't have Batman Houdini.
I don't think I have that one either.
I now have about half a dozen copies of it because of this show. I don't remember the last time we talked about it. I don't even know when it was, a year or two ago, whenever it was. And I brought out my copy to show, and someone in the comments went, "You only have one copy of it?" If I appeared in a Batman story, I'd have 10 copies of it. I'd have one here, one there, one the other, one hanging up, and I was just like, "Why do I only have one copy of it?" And I went on eBay and found someone selling like 5 copies of it for $20 or something. I was like, all right, just what I need.
There you go. I only have maybe 1 or 2 copies of the book that I'm in. It's not even drawn to look like me. It's my name is used.
Why do you only have 1 or 2 copies of it?
I had, I think, maybe 4.
One should be hanging up on your wall.
It should be. I need to get them. Yeah, because it's like and it's funny because my name has been used in a couple of Marvel projects. Mm-hmm. It's like I have maybe 1 copy of each item, and if you was to ask me, "Oh, could you show it to me now?" I wouldn't know where it is.
I don't think my name was ever used as a comic book character in Marvel.
So Mike Lackey used my name for a Professor Wilson Ramos, who opened a portal to the Negative Zone. And not thinking that he discovered something new. And then, of course, he eventually gets killed by a blaster. So
you would think my name would be obvious. You know, I'm an Osborne, so just put me in the family. They even spell it the same way I do. No E.
There is a Portuguese comic in which I appear. I have to find it, but it's not my name, but it's designed after me.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what the Batman was with me. He used me as reference for a character who Batman was beating up. Mark Chiarello. Who I have not seen Mark Chiarello. Like the week he was, because he used to be at Marvel a bit. And then he got I could actually look up the date in my photos, early 90s sometime. He got the job as DC's art director. And he was out at Bar X with the regular Marvel crew that Wednesday that he was starting, I think, the next week at DC. And it's like I never saw him again after that night. I don't know why. I'm just always reminded of that because I have a picture of him from that. You know, I remember things from deep in the past because of pictures.
Yeah. It's good having those records because they're not anywhere else.
And there's probably plenty of other people who I haven't seen in decades that I never think about because I don't have a picture of them from the very last time I saw them.
What if you bought something that day?
I'd have a record of that.
So you just find that receipt, you'll remember everything you did. This receipt is the last day that I saw this guy.
In case you don't get Chris's joke.
It's not a joke.
I know. I know it's not his reference. I still remember it. You're doing research on yourself? Every now and then I bring that up, like, yes, I was doing research on myself.
Yeah, sometimes you want to know exactly what was going on, you know? And it's like, if it wasn't for comic book covers, I could look at it and go, all right, so this was around the time this was going on.
Research on yourself is a pretty standard way to get superpowers. Something went wrong. Calendar. Something went wrong, and now I have a record of everything everybody's bought in Brooklyn between 1997 and 2008.
I keep a digital calendar. I started writing down like probably around 2008. started keeping a digital calendar. I kept a paper one to some extent, and I write down what I did that day. Because what happens is I'll make something, I'll put it away, and then forget I make it. So in my mind, I don't think I've gotten anything done. Meanwhile, I've gotten plenty of stuff done, but it's just away. I'm always thinking about what I'm doing now and not what I did last week. So I started writing down, in my Apple Mac calendar, writing what I got done that day. Well, I worked on this piece, finished this painting, did this drawing, penciled this cover, just so I can go back and see what I did. I can go, oh, look, I didn't get nothing done. My calendar's filled with stuff I get done. Works for my mental health. And then one day I discovered, because I'm a freelancer and I keep receipts, out in the garage, I had receipts going back to like 1990. So I was like, wow. And I started looking through them and I realized I had like old bank statements. And it's like, I used to work at Marvel on and off in terms of like, I'd work there for a few months, then I'd take a month and go, because I was freelance and work on my own stuff. I'd work there for when they needed extra work, I'd go in and I'd work for weeks. Then I'd be like, all right, I'm going home to work on my own stuff for some weeks. So I wouldn't even know because you work there because you work there every day from this day to that day. I didn't work there every day, but I had all my stubs from Marvel that had days in them where I worked. So I started entering that in the calendar, like going back in time and entering stuff from like the 90s. Then I had all my receipts, and some of my receipts tell me where I was. So I was telling Chris this, and that's when he went, "You were doing research on yourself?" With this completely flabbergasted tone of voice. And I never thought of that. And I just went, you know what? I think I am. I'm doing research on myself.
I think that's a great idea. Because even though, I was there every day, but it feels like it's the same day.
What did you do?
Art came in, art went out.
Yeah.
And then there would be little moments of excitement because this was going on. And sometimes I relive some of those moments listening to when I used to listen to Greg Schiegel's podcast.
Yeah.
And he talked about certain things that happened. And it was like, oh, yeah, I remember that day because I was there when...
what day was it?
When Alan Davis came by to pick up some artwork. And Greg happened to turn the corner to drop something off, to drop off artwork. And then he heard Alan Davis say, oh, I'm Alan Davis. And, Greg was like, oh, my God. And I got to see that reaction, that interaction that Greg retells the story. And it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that day. That was fun.
Was it Alan Davis?
It wasn't Alan Davis, then it was Paul Neary.
Was it John Buscema?
No, he does tell a John Buscema story as well. But in the podcast, I believe he tells us, I think it was Alan Davis that stopped by. This is when I think Greg might have still been an intern.
Oh.
And again, I don't remember exactly. Have to look up that podcast to listen to it to get the.
And also one of the reasons I can remember things is, well, all my photographs, I wrote names and dates on the back. And now I have that all digitally too. I don't think I've ever cross-referenced that with my casual calendar, though. I'm not sure if I did. So it's like if you ask me when something happened, I might not be able to tell you, but I can find out by going to my photos. Like whenever I post something like on Facebook or something, or tell somebody a date, they're like, "Oh, your memory is so much better than mine." I'm like, "No, it's not. My dating system is so much better."
You just happen to be able to go back. Like I couldn't tell you the day. Jerry Seinfeld stopped by. But I know Greg retold that story. And I remember actually being outside Greg's office. I was cutting cardboard, and Jerry's just like walking around, and Greg walked out. I was like, Jerry Seinfeld? Because he just happened to run into him. And again, so those things I remember. I couldn't tell you the day it happened.
Right.
All I just know is that, this is where I was at that particular time period of when, a few famous people would actually visit the office. Because again, those were memorable days because it wasn't the same thing of art comes in, art goes out kind of a thing.
And I've also have in my collection, I've archived some of Ed Laz's photos, some of Joe Capensaco's photos, some of Jim Hostin's photos, and some of Rick Parker gave me some photos. So it's like, okay. I'll collect whatever I can too from that era, just to.
I have on my Facebook, I have a Larry Hama photo that he took of me during one of the Halloween parties.
I've downloaded some photos from Elliot Brown's website too, especially when Marvel was on the 4th floor. I don't think I took any photos at that time. He had some. I was like, oh, I want those in the archive. Because he took a lot of photos before my time, and some during, like on the 4th floor. He just came in one day and took a bunch of photos.
There was a recent YouTube show that talked about the theft of art at Marvel going back years ago, and some of the videos that the guy was using. At some point, he was using the MTV video.
I've seen that pop up on TikTok and Instagram these days too. And everybody takes it from my YouTube because that's the only place it is.
The only place it exists.
Yeah.
There's one guy in that video who stands out as just like, if you don't know any of these people beforehand and you're just watching this thing, there's one guy that really sets himself apart. I think you know who I'm talking about.
No.
No? Just say he's sitting back.
Bob Harris. Okay.
Like this.
Cooter maxing. When I posted that, I thought that's who you might mean. Bob Harris. When I posted that, Bob Harris was, I think he was editor-in-chief at DC. But they were going through a rough time. I think it was one of the times of firings. And I'm the director of the X-Men. And Marie told me that everybody at DC, that particular thing gave them a real boost. And I just saw a TikTok video where when women do it, like on TikTok videos or something, and they have examples of sitting with their legs up like Bob was, and it's called cooter maxing. And the guy was me, he's like, okay, we got to get it, and he was showing all examples of it, and directing. All right, we need your legs a little bit wide, okay, because they all have sweats or some sort of clothes on there, but they're sitting with their legs open, talking to the camera with their head on top and their cooter on the bottom. Cooter man. That's what Bob Harris is doing. Except he doesn't have a cooter. Yeah, I remember that. It's just like that gave everybody at DC a real lift because they got to make fun of Bob for a day and forget their troubles.
Oh, that's good.
I'm basically the director of the X-Men. I think was his line that everybody loved.
And then I've been enjoying since Marvel had announced that they're going to California. How many photos have been popping up on Facebook of people going through their archives? And it's like, this was during my time at Marvel, and people enjoying. Smitty,
what's up, Jared? Ignore that
weeks in a row.
Ignore the Facebook message I just sent you, Jared.
Okay.
I asked you to invite me to the group so I could tell everybody I was leaving. But I have to pass by the office anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. Paolo's hosting this week anyway, so.
What's new?
You're leaving? You're just going home for the night, or are you going to?
Yeah. I'm staring at a computer screen all day. My eyes are shot.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Oh yeah.
I've actually started using a lot of SketchUp to like build 3D models of environments, so my perspective is always good. So I've been doing that today. I just built a big set piece for like the end of this book I'm drawing. So
I was just telling them about a new app I found.
Oh, really?
Called Hey, it's Smitty time. I just found it this week. I saw somebody on TikTok using it. It's in the App Store. It's in the use it with an iPad generally. Called Feather, like a bird, Feather.
Okay.
And instead of being a 3D modeling app, what it is a 3D drawing app.
Interesting.
So let's say you want to draw a building or a room, let's say. First, you draw a guideline. And and there's a 3D space, you know, that you're used to with the XYZ axis that you can turn all around.
Mm-hmm.
You draw a guideline, and that guideline becomes like an infinite piece of paper. And you draw on that piece of paper, which is in perspective. So if you want to draw one wall, you make a guideline, it zoom, makes that piece of paper becomes the wall, and you just draw the bookcase and in 2D, the bookcase and everything. Then you turn off that guideline, and you draw the next guideline at the next wall, either perpendicular to it, and it puts a piece of paper where that wall is. You now draw on that wall, and you do that for all 4 walls, and it's now a 3D sketch that you can move all around. So it's your drawing, but flat. All 4 spaces are flat. And I just found it this week, and that's all I know so far.
Right.
But it's called Feather. It's $15, one fee, not a subscription. So I'm happy it's not a subscription. I was like, I'll give you $15.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, SketchUp is fun. I kind of taught myself just to do the stuff that I need to do. Yeah. But it's definitely more for architecture and product design, stuff like that. But I mean, I could build basic perspective stuff like you're saying, but that way seems a lot easier, more intuitive.
It wasn't so intuitive until I realized the guideline was like a piece of paper.
Right.
I only watched one tutorial on it yesterday. But once I figured out that the guideline made a piece of paper, I was like, oh, that's what it's doing. That's why I can't draw not on a piece of paper. Because I was trying to draw like it was a 3D model kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a SketchUp.
Cool, man. Well, I got a weekend project. I'll check that out.
Feather. Light as a feather. All right, have a good night.
Later, fellas.
Take care, City. Good seeing you.
Paolo's phone is making noise again.
I wonder where that was coming from.
He was doing it earlier, then he signed off and came back on. I don't know what he did. Meanwhile, I'll show another Robert Kirkman book. Battle Beast number 12. Have you been reading Battle Beast, Chris?
I read first, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5. I plan to read all the rest of them.
Okay.
They're waiting for me.
This is issue 3 of his battle with Conquest. So he's been fighting Conquest for 3 issues in a super bloody battle. It still hasn't ended.
And this is a battle that we saw in Invincible at one point?
No. I don't think we did, because this is when the 2 of them first meet. Because a little spoiler here, if you've read Invincible, we know Battle Beast dies at the end of Invincible. He's been searching for somebody who can kill him. And who killed him? Was it? I can't even remember.
Thrag?
Was it Thrag? The
Freddie Mercury guy.
Freddie Mercury guy. The not Invincible's father, though.
No.
Right.
No, because then he wears him.
Yes, yeah, that's right. At the end, he wears him. He wears his fur. But I think that's why I'm intrigued to see how this ends, because I think Conquest was still around after this. So I don't know how they're going to end them. I don't remember. I haven't read that part of Invincible in a long time. But I know I don't think Battle Beast dies here. because they've got another issue coming out sometime. Someone said it's not out till March. I think they're taking a little break after getting 12 monthly issues out. Battle Beast has been fun.
Another book that I have here.
Revissions? In battle?
What was that?
They've been fighting the same battle for a number of issues?
Yes, for 3 issues they've been fighting the same battle.
Man, it's like Dragon Ball Z all over again.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of Dragon Ball Z going on in it. Not that I've read a lot of Dragon Ball Z, but I've heard a lot of Dragon Ball Z. Back in the bullpen in whatever year that was, 2004. Were you one of the Dragon Ball Z fans, Chris?
What?
Were you one of the Dragon Ball Z fans?
Yes.
Yeah. I heard, like, I never actually read it, but Chris and Jacob and Paul could talk about Dragon Ball Z.
And Tim was part of that too.
Tim? Okay. All I know is, man, could they go on and on about who could be up.
When I was in high school in the 90s, I didn't watch any Dragon Ball because I thought it was stupid. But I knew everything that was going on because all of my classmates would insist on telling me everything that happened in every.
Your classmates were Chris and Tim and Jacob and Paul. It would get you deep into what was happening in Dragon Ball. You were showing us a comic book?
Yeah, I got the next issue I have in my pile is issue 34 of Amazing Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
They moved the logo and turned it into electricity down there at the bottom.
Electricity.
There we go. And then the last book of my pile is G.I. Joe, issue number 25. They start a new series in called Night Force. And this is a wraparound cover. Open that up.
I love wraparound. They wrap around.
That's G.I. Joe, issue number 25.
G.I. Joe, a real American asshole. That's what I got called.
Start off the book with. And those are the comic books that I picked up for this.
I got one last comic I'll show you here. That was the 7th issue of Arcadia, which has been a terrific series. Really enjoyed this by the Miranda brothers. And this is the one that's about, maybe I'll read it back to you. It's a dream we all share. It's a dream about dragons and super dragons, about a war that erased what once was. Humans are just a memory. The civilization just ruins and old bones. War itself has become a relic of the past that decorates the landscape with the bodies of the dead abandoned war machines, and the footprints of battle. Nature has started to reclaim the earth, but the scars of history are still everywhere. Those who remain were born out of the conflict, awakening in giant silos, unaware of their origins, but still fueled by the imperative to survive. The brave few continue to help them, even as they must maintain their own survival in a landscape with few resources left. Here begins their story. So this is the one that there are no humans left. And they're just these artificial creatures who don't really know what they are. And they're kind of long-lived, but they also die. They get this, they get these something on their body that creeps up and they start losing. It's like Alzheimer's for these characters. And they've been looking for this utopia allegedly in this little story arc, and they kind of found it. But of course, things aren't what they seem. It's really, really, really good. I've really gotten an emotional connection with the characters, some of whom have died already, and some of whom, like the main character's girlfriend, has this creeping disease, and they've already mentioned her death a few times. Because much like Saga, the story is being narrated by their future child. Though in Saga, it's actually a little child who's now grown up. So the future child knows what's happened.
Chris,
I can hear you, Chris. You're mute.
You mentioned Saga, and I'm wondering, did that book just stop? Or are they done?
I think it just stopped for a while. It's on hiatus again. The issue will show up sometime.
Ryan K. Vaughan and no end in sight.
I think it's supposed to go X amount of issues, but I don't know. And G.I. Joe 25 was a good read. Iron Zero's looking forward to the arc it starts. Okay. One G.I. Joe fan at my LCS has stopped reading the Larry Hama G.I. Joe. No longer likes it.
Really?
Likes the other G.I. Joe. Just want to throw out that G.I. Joe news to you.
And you can still mix it up with Mask. I think that in the current universe, the Mask project is a G.I. Joe offshoot.
Ah.
Yeah.
But Miles Mayhem absconds with the technology. So Venom is an offshoot of Cobra as well. Which makes sense.
Yeah. You could easily see how the Transformer technology could have been used to make the vehicles and Mask and stuff like that. Somewhat transformed. So it makes sense.
Not being a G.I. Joe fan, the last issue I read was 300 because I bought it just because it was 300 in the last issue.
Right.
It was pretty good. It was a solid G.I. Joe story. Can't complain. And it had a really nice cover with a whole bunch of figures on it.
The Scott Kopish one?
What was that?
Was that the Scott Kopish one where they had the 300?
I don't remember it being Scott.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was Scott or not.
I mentioned, I think, while Todd Nauk, or Nauk, however you say his name, was doing one of those type covers for ASM 1000. If it wasn't $10, I'd buy it. Because I was looking ahead at what I have pre-ordered, and there's a couple of weeks in September that I have a crazy amount of comics. I'm like, how did this happen? One week, I think I have 16 comics. Another week, I have 3. I'm like, how did that happen? We'll see if all 16 come out, though. This week, 2 comics were missing. I was supposed to have 8, but only had 6. So 2 didn't make it into the store. That happened. Comics are late.
Yeah, there was a Phantom comic this week.
I think I remember seeing it. Not on the stand, but it coming out.
One shot, and it's a follow-up on the first mini. But the master villain who took all 4 issues to feet with intelligence now gets taken out like a little bitch in 1 issue. And the guy who's writing the Phantom seems to be insistent on making him slightly psychotic. Not in a bad way, but he seems too happy to go into action, so it would make him a loose cannon, which is not something that you expect from the Phantom.
How new is the latest Phantom? The character. Like I said, no different guys in the Phantom over the decade.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be the 20th, so it's supposed to be the 21st anyway.
So when did he start? What year did he start?
1938.
Okay, so it's the same Phantom from 1938 to now. Yeah. Okay, that's what I wasn't sure if they had changed out over the years.
No. So they introduced Rex as as an adopted son, a foundling in the early 70s. The Phantom finally marries Diana Walker in the mid 80s, and the twins are born about a year later. And since then, they've had a couple of age jumps, and now they're about 17, 18. And they were toying with the idea of killing off the Phantom for a while, because we've had a couple of stories that became imaginary stories.
What time period does the Phantom take place in?
Now, it's always current year.
It's always current, okay.
Yeah.
That's a perfect chance to change them out every 20 years or so.
Yeah, but they don't.
That would seem to be the thing to do.
Yeah, I guess.
Works for Doctor Who, you know?
Yeah. Mandrake's being rerun. They're using old art for a few years, but they started relettering all of the old Mandrake stories. For some reason, they're using Comic Sans.
Oh.
Why?
It was terrible.
That's awful.
By the way, Wilson, I was just watching a TikTok on a letterer who has got his lettering technique automated to cut out tons of time. He just discovered, I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to look it up again. It's a little app that uses, you're aware of Apple Script and stuff like that.
Right.
It uses Apple Script and stuff so that he just goes to his script, he highlights the text he wants to put in over. He hits one button and it brings it over to Illustrator, puts the text, draws the balloon. So it's like it automatically makes the balloon and the text in the balloon. He doesn't have to do anything besides hit that one button. I was like, ooh, that's impressive.
That sounds great.
I'll get you a link to it.
Yeah, does he break it down how he actually automates it? Okay.
Well, he tells you the program he used.
Okay.
It's a little piece of shareware, I think, for Mac and Windows. But,
Okay.
It uses Apple Script and stuff. I'll show it to you. Just like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that sounds great. You know, if it does what it sounds like it does, then it gives you one of the problems is, you know, you put the balloon and, you know, you want to make sure it's centered and there's enough air around the characters and stuff like that. But because of the nature of the lettering, the nature of the balloon, it doesn't do it exactly. Sometimes you're playing around with it and you do it by eye, but sometimes it's just slightly off. Or you may not notice it until the editor catches it later. It's like you move it a few degrees to the left, or right, just like that. You know, that can definitely save time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Castle Grayskull.
Grace. You Grace is from Captain Infinity's live streams.
Oh, okay. Hello there. We got a bit of a rumble tonight because Paolo's on a phone.
It will be fixed.
Normal show.
It'll be fixed for next week.
Next week he'll have his laptop back with a new keyboard.
Yeah, and because that was
new keyboard installed.
The part that was ruined on my keyboard was actually the on and off button. So I couldn't turn it on to take my files out, and I haven't been working on a few things for a week now.
So they had to replace the whole keyboard because of the on and off button.
Yeah.
That's the way things are built.
Yeah.
You just replace the button. They could, but it cost as much.
Mm.
And how much did it cost to replace the whole keyboard?
120. They're also replacing a hinge.
Okay.
In the screen, because I think the problem with Asus is that the chassis is very breaking. So the hinges from the screen usually break off.
Hinges break. And
a bit of the casing. But I love Asus because they have great hardware for the computer part. The motherboard, that thing. You can have the computer running on 97% memory usage, and it's still fast.
Oh, Chris, were you here when I was showing my coloring book? No.
You mute.
People have always been saying some of my drawings would make a good coloring book. So I made one myself.
Awesome.
Got my phone.
Have a good one.
Later.
So I got myself one of these spiral binders. Some good paper, printed it out myself. Made a Jared's Weird Drawings coloring book.
So that's just a 1 of 1?
Yeah. But I can make more if I sell them.
I was gonna say, where'd you get that printed? Like, I've never seen anybody go to get a thing with a spiral in it like that before.
Printed it myself, bound it myself. I've been learning bookbinding this summer. And this is real easy. This is just a machine that punches holes, and then you put the spiral in. And the machine only goes for like $80. So I thought you'd like that.
So if he sells that book for 120, he's making money.
What if I sell 120 of them for $1?
Yeah, there you go.
Then I'm probably losing money.
We have another fan of Chris's wall of action figures.
Oh, I'll have to tell him what. Hold on, I'm going to tell him what episode we go to.
Yeah.
And while he's doing that, let me show you the newest action figure I got, only because it was on sale and obscured Spider-Man characters. We have the Hypno Hustler.
Wow.
This is like a 70s, I believe 70s character. Like, he wasn't even an Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
He was in Peter Parker's Spider-Man. So here's, and again, only because it was on sale at Walmart. I was picking up some other stuff for my brother, and it's like, all right, just because it was under $20, I was going to pick him up.
This is Maximum Perspective 39. Go to Maximum Perspective 23 if you want to see a tour of Christian Russo's toys that he's got in his studio. So it's on Paolo's channel, Maximum Perspective 23.
A little bit, but it's there. And it's not at the beginning, so you have to move closer to the end.
Yeah, just scrub through it until you see the toy.
No, you watch the whole thing. And then...
Didn't like your artwork, Jared.
Thank you. Hypno Hustler gets jiggy with it, you die.
Yeah, but people are
jiggy. Jiggy's like late. I don't think the Hypno Hustler would get jiggy.
No?
No.
He
Go
doesn't
get
hustle.
down, get down.
Jiggy is late 90s.
So yeah, he might get down and get funky, but not jiggy.
He'll do the hustle.
Just with the Hypno Hustler, he only appeared in like 2 comics in whole Spider-Man's history, and for some reason, people respond well to him, but it was never brought back.
Yeah, one of those oddball
I think it was the part of the month that was.
I saw a little TikTok video of a little girl who was at a concert, a little local concert. They were playing "Play That Funky Music, White Boy," and then she was little videos of her singing that song the rest of the week. Except she wasn't saying something. Lay down and boogie and play that funky music.
In Portuguese.
That's why his phone is making so much noise. He's in Portugal.
Yeah, it's a Portuguese one.
If he had the superior American phone system.
Mm-hmm. Well, the superior laptop, which does
the best of everything. Don't you know it? If it's from some foreign land, it's not.
Which is the Windows system, not Mac.
If you don't think so, we're going to bomb you.
We don't have bombs, but we do have great food. We have fish, which you guys don't eat because you have no taste.
That's just us, not all Americans.
I am eating fish tomorrow for lunch.
Cool. My cousin is married to a Portuguese. The ironbound section of Avenue L, where the Portuguese women come to see what you sell. A Suzanne Vega song from the 90s. I think the name of it is Ironbound. And I think in Jersey, somewhere, maybe in Jersey City, there was a neighborhood called Ironbound. And I guess that's where Portuguese women went to see what you said.
Yeah, Little Portugal is in Newark.
Newark, it is? Okay. That's near Jersey City.
Somewhere around there.
And there are Portuguese. There are Portuguese fishermen in Providence. You should go there. Are we ready to wrap this up?
All right.
Yep.
We'll give you some balloons. Confetti and some lasers. Next week will be on my channel, so we'll see you then and there.
Yeah. Go to the description. The link is there.
All right. Everyone have a good night.
Have a great weekend. Everybody.
Bye.